and welcome to Release Readiness Live. I'm Elna Miller, your Release Readiness champion. We are here in the studio all this week, and this is our final day talking about the new features from the Spring 20 release across all major clouds. Today, we're talking about communities and B2B commerce. Our hope is that whether this is your first Salesforce release or your 20th, you'll learn something new that you can use. Our product team is right here in the studio to tell you about some new features, do some live demos, and answer questions on the air. Now, speaking of questions, let's just take a quick moment to review how this works. We will be monitoring both the Release Readiness Trailblazers community as well as Twitter, and the most important thing to remember is to use the hashtag #SalesforceLive. I recommend posting your longer, more detailed questions in the community where the conversation can continue after the webcast. If we don't get to your question on the air, we'll be sure to follow up with you within a few days. Now, we are recording this broadcast, so you can watch it back whenever you like. And since we may be covering the roadmap, we may be making some forward-looking statements, so please make sure your purchasing decisions are based on currently available functionality. And now, without further ado, let's meet our product team. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. This is Kusum. I'm a product manager with Community Cloud. I work on our Salesforce CMS product and really happy to be back.
Hello, I am Paul Chong, also a product manager on Community Cloud. This is not my first, nor my 20th Release Readiness Live, it's my third. And happy to be back here. My focus area that I'm going to be sharing with you today is partner portals as well as self-service.
Hi all, my name is Venkat Metapati. I'm a product manager with the B2B commerce team. I've been with Salesforce about 1.5 years now, and this is my first time at Release Readiness Live. So super excited to be here and really looking forward to talk about everything that is cool with B2B commerce and the upcoming features with the spring release.
All right, thank you. Glad you're here today. Now, we have lots of great content to cover today, so we're going to start with Kusum, and I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. So really excited to be here. We have some great features with the Spring 20 release. Just to talk about Community Cloud, our platform, we've seen amazing customer momentum. We've seen about 528 million members on our platform with 42,000 live sites and 41 sites that go live every day. So those are some phenomenal numbers, and all of that momentum has been supported by a lot of our product innovation and all of the work that the teams are doing to add features into the product. Now, with Community Cloud, you can take your data, your customer data, your partner data, and expose it out to your customers and partners and employees with targeted pixel-perfect experiences. You can build a variety of experiences, whether it's help centers, portals, sites, and what have you. And a lot of our innovation is centered around the themes that you're seeing today. So the first theme is Experience Platform and CMS. So this is our digital experience platform, and we have some great new features that we've added here, from creating new headless APIs for Salesforce CMS, mobile face recognition that Paul is going to demo later, as well as some APIs that are now GA. I'll be talking about. Now, with self-service and channel management, Paul is going to talk to you about that. Some exciting features there, including potentially a way to talk to your customer service rep using WhatsApp, for example. And then B2B commerce is, Venkat's going to cover that as well, and some great innovation there as well. So all of this supported by the Community Cloud platform. So let's move on. Let's look at some of our Spring 20 feature highlights for the Experience Builder. Now, the Experience Builder, as you all are aware, is your WYSIWYG template that allows you to create themes, create content, and then customize all of your experiences with your Pixel Perfect brand. Now, with the Experience Builder, we ship with out-of-the-box components. You can create your own custom components, and we've been continuing to add a lot of features to make this easy. With our Spring 20 release, we've added mobile publisher facial recognition, so now you can log into your mobile app using Face ID. We've also done some enhancements at the platform level with flexible layouts. This is a feature we've had for a couple of releases, and we've added some drag-drop enhancements there, as well as some declarative configuration for some third-party functionality. And also with Lightning Web runtime templates, this is LWR. It's our fast performant template, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about that, and personalization experience bundle APIs. So let's look at the Lightning, the LWC template. Now with Lightning Web Runtime, you can actually build experiences that are fast as well as performant. So what that means is that all of your custom experiences can be built with any design system. You're not forced to use SLDS only. And you can access CRM and Apex with all of our LWC technologies. With Spring 20, we're supporting APIs, we're supporting branding token, CSS, as well as some of our login and authentication components. So this is your way to really achieve that sub-second performance and make your community performant. Now with personalization experience bundle, so personalization APIs have been pilot in our Winter 20 release, and now they're GA. So these APIs allow you to target audiences to any pages, components, and branding sets. And with experience bundle, this is your ability to read the metadata off a community, so pages, components, branding, all of that aspect using our APIs in a JSON or text readable format, so your developers can easily deploy using their chosen deployment tools. And all of this is GA now with Spring 20. And not only that, but now your audience limit per community has been raised from 100 audiences to 1,500 audiences. So this is really great because it allows you to personalize your experiences and serve it to the relevant audiences. And finally, for Personalization Experience Bundle, there are some great resources from Trailhead to our Help Center guides, as well as videos. So please check these out. We'll be posting some of this on our on Trailhead, as well as our Trailblazer groups as well. All right, so let's talk about some enhancements to Salesforce Content Management. So some of you are aware that we launched Salesforce CMS last winter. So this is our hybrid content management service from Salesforce, and this allows customers to create connected digital experiences. Our key tenets here is that you can take content and deliver it to any channel. You can build, again, those pixel-perfect experiences using some of our native experience builder capabilities. And finally, personalize this content using CRM data as well as artificial intelligence. A lot of times customers ask us, what is content? Well, content can be anything. It can be marketing content. It can be CRM-based content. It can be files and records. Essentially, if it's in your experience, it's content. And we allow you to take that content in a headless fashion and then serve it to one or more channels using the experience that you've built in those channels. Now, with Salesforce CMS, the last couple of releases, we've been doing the work to make this a platform that serves all of Salesforce as well as external third-party systems. So with our winter releases, we went GA, we were already serving service portals and sales portals, employee applications, as well as B2B commerce. Now with the Spring 20 release, we have our headless API. What that means is that you can now take our content and serve it in any third-party application. So you could build your site using Angular, React, any front-end platform that you like, and consume our content through APIs and serve it. In addition to that, we also have a native integration with the B2C Commerce Page Designer, and I'll be talking a little bit more about that. And we're also supporting some new features like being able to search content, as well as supporting some new node types in our headless content repository. And along with that, in our summer release, we can hope to continue this great momentum by adding additional features like our own lightweight digital asset management capability, integrating with marketing, high scale, and so on. So let's actually look into some of these features, and let me show you some great features that we have in Spring 20. So I'm going to demo some of this. All right, so moving on, the first thing we'd like you to see is that we have a new CMS home. This is your ability to navigate to all of the functions that are available within Salesforce CMS. So we have a new CMS home tab, and from here you can navigate into CMS workspaces, into Experience Builder, and it allows you to access all of the functionality that you've entered inside your Salesforce CMS app. So what that means is that you can create workspaces, and workspaces are libraries where you can group content, as well as experiences, and see all of the experiences that your content is serving. So let's dive into one of these workspaces. So here are all of my workspaces, and I'm going to go into my Capricorn Coffee Global Content and Marketing workspace. So right out the gate, you see a lot of content here, and you can see that we have a variety of content types that are available to customers to create content in. Content types are basically just templates where you can add your content in the format and the way you need to create the content. Now here we've added some enhancements. So not only can you create your own custom content types, but within those content types, you can decide what fields or what nodes you'd like that content to support. So the changes we've added are the fact that now you can have a date as well as a date time field in your content types. That gives you better control over the data that you're entering and be able to manage it in the right format. In addition to that, we also have a URL node type. So now you can take advantage of that within your content types. I've created here a sample piece of content using some of these fields. And you can see that it validates and makes sure that I'm entering an accurate date format as well as a URL. Now, not only can I do that, but my content is also searchable now. So let's actually show you how that's done. So we have, for all of the channels where you're serving the content, you can now set up whether your content is searchable within that channel. So you have a new tab called Channel, and you can decide at each channel level, you can set whether that content is searchable within that channel. So it's a simple switch where you could say, here, for my B2B Lightning channel, I'd like to enable search. And once you do that, we basically create an index for all of the content that is being served to that channel, and then search is enabled. Another thing that we've added, as I mentioned earlier, is now we have this way to serve content in a headless fashion to all of your properties. And so what that means is that you can basically create channels, whether they're for commerce, cloud, whether they're for experience sites, but you can also use these channels in any third-party site. So let's say I'm creating my Heroku Foundation website for Capricorn Coffee, which is a demo company that we're using to show some of these demos. I can create a channel, and I can decide where are the people that are going to be accessing the data. So if I have admins that are going to be accessing the data, I can set up a permission set, and I can add those admins to the permission set. So maybe I'm going to use an existing permission set here, and then that will give me the ability to set up this channel and add people to it. So if I create the channel, and what it also does in the background is it creates an authentication between our org and the channel that you're sending this data to. So now that we've created this completely third-party channel, let's go look a little bit on the builder side and see how some of this content can be leveraged. So you've seen CMS Home, you've been able to see how we've created a channel, and hopefully a lot of you have already seen workspaces and how you create content within a workspace and different content types and so on. So I'm going to move on to the actual visual representation of the site. So this is a website for this demo company, Capricorn Coffee. You can see they have some great content. All of this content has been created using Salesforce CMS. And again, the experience of this content has been achieved using some of our out-of-the-box components that ship with Salesforce CMS in the Experience Builder. So here I am in the Experience Builder. So the first thing I wanted to show you guys was how do you enable search? And so what you do is with the current, you've already enabled search for the channel. So we enabled it for this particular site. But then within the community itself, within your global search component, you can now add content as an option. And the CMS content is that option you're adding here. So previously, if you could search, discussions or articles or particular objects, now you can also search content. So, and I believe this is also added, automatically added as well. And in addition to that, in your search detail page, when you look at the global search results component, you can also add content there as well. So when you search for something, you'll be able to see that content. So like if I go back to my site and maybe I search for this Capricorn coffee horn cup that I've created in my CMS, that content is searchable. Or maybe if I just search for the keyword and then I just click enter. It'll show me all of the results from across all of the entities it's searching, and content is one of them. So there's my Capricorn coffee horn cup, and this is all of the detail that's available in that piece of content. So whether you have images or videos, so the searches it spans the entire search of the piece of content as well. Now, in addition to search, we also saw the new node type. So you have the date and the date time content. So what we've added, in addition to being able to create date time piece in your content, on the builder, on the community builder, experience builder, you're also seeing new options to show date within your experience format. So this is your CMS single item component. You can also have a collection component, and all this is a WYSIWYG way to be able to consume your content and display the results in a rich and engaging format. So I'm using a single item component. I've chosen the card layout, and what's new here is I see an option to display date, and not only that, but within my date section in that layout, I'm also able to set up different options. So I may want to show it in a date format, or I'd like to show it in the viewer's date format. I'd like to display day of the week or not, as well as the time format. Maybe I'd like to show it in a 24-hour format, and so on. And then further, it gives me some more design options. So if I want to control the font size or some design tokens, I can do that. And all of this is available in both our CMS single item as well as our collection item. So this is just your way to map your content using field mappings to the content that you created in your CMS, and then design your experience here using some of our out-of-the-box components. All right, great. And then, we saw earlier how we are able to serve this content not only to Salesforce properties, but also to any third-party channel. So this is a blog that I've created for our Capricorn Coffee Foundation. And this is a site that is created using Heroku, which is just consuming this data using our headless APIs. And so this is the same content that I have within my CMS app. And I'm able to serve this directly to the site using those same APIs that are going GA as part of the spring release. All right, great. Now, let's move on to talking about our native integration with our B2C commerce page designer. So a lot of our customers are using Commerce Cloud, and they'd like to be able to consume Salesforce CMS content within Commerce Cloud as well. Now, with Page Designer, what you can do is you can take this content, and again, just like the Experience Builder, you can declaratively, with WYSIWYG components, build the experience of how that content would appear. Now, with the Spring 20 release, without any code, you can now consume this content across all of these Salesforce properties. So you can use our headless APIs if you'd like to build a very custom experience, but if you'd like to do it using Page Designer, you can do that. And let's actually walk you through how that would look like. So you would create your content within the Salesforce CMS app, just like I showed you as part of the demo earlier. If you go into one of their workspaces, you can add content. In this example, I choose to add the news content. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm also adding a channel for commerce. So as I was showing you, you have now the ability to create channels, and you can create the headless channels that we created earlier, or you can create a channel for Commerce Cloud, which is our native integration. So with this example, you're now able to create a channel for Commerce Cloud. You've selected Commerce Cloud, and what this is doing in the background is it's creating an authentication between your core Salesforce org and your Commerce Cloud org. You have to request, once you create the channel, you have to request your service team to help you create that authentication. So they would do it at an org by org level. Once that authentication has been established, when you're in the Commerce Cloud in your Business Manager library, so what you're doing is you're actually creating a connection between a specific library within Business Manager, which is Commerce Cloud, and Salesforce CMS. You can then select a particular channel that you've established the authentication with. So in this example, that's my B2C e-commerce channel. I do that, and this basically establishes a relationship between that library and my channel. So now let's look at what this looks like from the Page Designer side. So within Page Designer, you can basically create a new custom component, add this attribute of type CMS, and once you do that, it'll allow your storefront manager to basically use any CMS content and place it into Page Designer pages. So let's see how you do that. So in this example, I have a new component called Headline Banner within Page Designer. I drag it onto my screen, and here I can select, because I've established that relationship within that component, to a CMS channel. When I click on select content, it's actually telling me which content type I've established a relationship with. In this example, it's news. And then all of that news content that I have in my Salesforce CMS repository. And I'm going to pick that piece of content that I created earlier. And what it's allowing me to do here is I can modify this content as well as if I want to. And this actually makes a local copy on the Page Designer side if this is needed to be able to expand to a particular commerce experience or a use case, and you don't want to change your entire repository. You can now modify some design properties, even the content itself, and you save this content. And once you save it, it's now part of the Commerce Cloud Page Designer experience, and you can serve it out to that commerce storefront site. And the same way, you're able to then take that same content with Salesforce CMS, whether you're using headless, whether you're using our native white glove integrations, and have the same content appear maybe in a marketing email, in a mobile app, even a social post. The idea being that you're now able to truly syndicate your content across all of the channels where you need to consume this content, and it gives you that ability to unify your customer's experience across all the channels. So that's all I have to demo today.
Wow.
Hopefully this is helpful and gives all of you some great creative ideas.
Thank you. That was great. CMS is really exciting, and the fact that it's, kind of a centralized way to store all of that content and that you can then use in so many different places, and maybe even the same content in multiple channels, but display it in different ways.
Absolutely.
So I like that a lot. And the search is really a great enhancement. And I'm just curious about what information the search uses. Like when somebody, this would be like a customer would be searching maybe on the site for content?
Yeah, they would be searching on the site, and basically even on a third-party site, so if you're not even using communities, you can access our search via APIs as well. But you could search for any part of the content, so it doesn't have to be just a title or a body. The entire content is searchable.
So any of the metadata that you have
Absolutely.
about including the dates, maybe?
Including the dates, yes.
Wow,
yes.
the new dates, yeah. And could you perhaps enter keywords in the metadata that would maybe influence what content surfaces when people use certain keywords when they're searching?
If you're asking about SEO, we don't support that yet, but we do plan to support SEO for public search engines with the summer release.
Great.
Thank you.
So it sounds like, just want to make sure, this might be a basic question, but just want to make sure I understand. So you store the basic content in CMS, but then when you want to control the look and feel, or perhaps the formatting, how it's displayed on the page, then you would do that in your component options or in the commerce configuration.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think this is really an interesting dichotomy and bifurcation of roles and responsibilities. What we've seen is our customers would like to be able to serve the same content in multiple channels, but in very different experiences.
Right.
And so you create the content once, but then in a marketing email, you'd use the marketing content builder. If you were creating the same content for your portal or your help center, your departmental site, you would use the experience builder. And if you were using this in a commerce storefront, you would use the page designer. And again, the experience of how that content is served could vary. But the content itself and all of the life cycle around the content, draft and publish and archive and so on. And in the future, in the roadmap, we plan to add things like approvals and scheduling. All of that can be managed in a central way within the Salesforce CMS application.
Great, thank you. So you mentioned CMS can be used across so many different channels. Yogesh has a self-help and partner community and wants to know, well, how could he use the CMS app? And also, is this included in any other Salesforce products, or is it an add-on?
Yeah, that's a great question. So with if you have a community already, you can just turn on CMS right now and use it. All of our customers, everybody who has a core Salesforce org actually has access to CMS. There's no reason not to try it. Now, within a self-help community or a partner community, you could imagine use cases could be, you're serving an announcement or a blog post, or maybe you're writing a white paper of some sort. So all of those ways you can create any type of content. So all of the content types I showed earlier, they're just custom created. So you can create your own content type and add whatever structure to the content type as well to display that content. So hopefully that helps.
Yes.
And we have a lot of help documentation that tells you how to turn on CMS. I believe it's just a simple permission to enable it for a profile, and then they can start using it.
Tom was asking about custom content types, and in the past, you could only create or delete them using the API. Is that still the case, or has that changed?
That's it's still the case. You can only create and delete them using APIs. We are looking to create a UI option for it. We're also looking to add in this release itself have a kind of a browser extension where it's not as maybe as technical as using the API as well. And then with the browser extension, you'll have a more of a WYSIWYG, user-friendly way to add it'll basically create the API call for you. You just tell it the name of the content type as well as the nodes in the content type. But we're also looking to solve this at a platform level and have it in the product as well in a couple of releases.
I like the interim shortcut, though.
Yes.
That sounds good. So Grace was wondering, data-wise, can a CMS content component surface custom metadata or only what's in CRM records?
So actually, with a CMS component, you can surface everything that's in CRM as well as in CMS. So CMS date content is basically all custom metadata. Everything I showed as part of the demo earlier, like we were looking at the announcement, that's all custom content that you're creating. The metadata is custom as well as the content. And also you can take CRM data and show that as well. So you can do both.
Okay. And you mentioned that Salesforce CMS could be used across many different channels. Can you just clarify if it's only Salesforce products or if you could actually use it on an external website, for example?
Yeah, so absolutely, just like you saw with Heroku, you could use it on any external website. We just picked Heroku, but you could have any third-party site and use our developer APIs, our headless APIs, and then you're able to consume the content.
Right. Now, what about flexible layouts? Can you use those with CMS content?
Yes. So starting in the spring release, you can now use our flexible layouts with CMS detail pages as well. So it gives you more control over the look and feel of those detail pages. So you're already able to use flex layouts in communities in most of our pages. But the CMS detail page where your actual blog or your news article is rendered, you can now use flexible layouts there as well.
Great. Good news. So one more question, and then we'll move on, I think, to the next, because we have more content to share. So Carol was wondering about storage limits. So how do they find out what those are?
So for CMS, our base license, we don't have storage limits as much as we have limits for the number of content records and the total number of content served to your customers. So, and it depends if you're using communities, and some of those limits of content served are different. So those are just conversations you would have with your customer success manager, and they'll be able to help tell you what is applicable for your org.
Great. So it sounds like it might be a bit variable and perhaps
absolutely, and we believe that the base license, which is the free license, should allow you to do a lot of use a lot of the features and functionalities without having to worry about the storage limits there.
Right. Thank you. Well, Paul, I understand you have some things to share about Service Community and Customer Portal, so I'll hand it to you.
Thank you, Elna. Shall we transition then? So firstly, thank you, Cosm. That was some really exciting innovation there, especially with the CMS search. I'm a search geek. I love seeing that. All right, so let's switch over to the self-service communities. Okay, so at this point, you'd be well aware that the Salesforce Digital Experience Platform supports many different use cases, whether it's your .com website, whether it's your mobile app? Well, for the next 10 minutes, we're going to be focusing on the self-service use cases. And so for those of you who are out there familiar with maybe a help center, if you want to have a help center community where you can expose knowledge articles to facilitate case deflection, that would be one great use case. Another that we see very commonly in self-service is the peer-to-peer forum. This might be an online forum, an online community where you can get your customers to meet, engage, and share best practices with one another, once again, to help drive up their customer satisfaction and deflect some of those cases. And perhaps the biggest use case that we see in this area, and what I'll be talking about today, is the customer portal. And this is where you want to expose, it might be your orders or your account details to your customer so they can self-service, as well as perhaps, file a case. So in order to help you with this, we have a number of templates that come straight out of the box. The ones that you'll be most familiar with, there's the Help Center template, the Customer Service template, or otherwise formerly known as Napili, and the Customer Account Portal. And so think of a template as basically being a starting point, which you can use to then build a really stunning digital experience. So as I mentioned before, plenty of innovation. A few things I'm going to cover in a demo, and just a few things I'm going to talk about today. Firstly, in the Help Center, you can now have related lists. Okay, so this comes up a fair amount. You've told us this before, that you want to, if you have perhaps like, say, a knowledge article with related files, you want to have those files exposed in your Help Center. Now you can do that. You can do that with your related list component that's now available in your Help Center. Another thing that you've told us about is the knowledge article URL handling, okay? And so the use case here is, just say, for example, you might change the URL for a knowledge article, but one of your customers may have bookmarked the old URL. And so when they click on it, they are taken to a 404 error page. Well, now we can handle that error gracefully. We will redirect that error to a page that you can configure, and then you can redirect the customer to whatever call to action you want. And three other things that we'll talk about, but less about talk, more about demo. First is the channel menu. The second is the topics feed navigation. And also in a moment, we'll see biometric login using your mobile app publisher. Does that sound good? You think? What do you guys think? Should we get started? Cool. Okay. Actually, before we do, it was a false start. We're gonna quickly cover the channel menu. You may have seen this if you were tuning in yesterday to the Service Cloud Release Readiness Live. They may have mentioned this. What we're going to talk about is the channel menu and how you can use this for your customers. So your customers can now engage your service agent on any channel of their choice, or not any channel of their choice, but any channel that's available through Service Cloud. Right, and so this is going to drive up customer satisfaction because it's going to just give them a lot more flexibility. What you may have seen yesterday was how this works in Service Cloud. Now what we're going to show you is how this works in a community setting. A number of different and improvements that have been made since the pilot that was launched last release is that there's a broader range of customizations that you can now apply to it, whether it's adding custom icons for each of the channel menu options, or perhaps reordering them in a declarative way, or even add translations. And we'll show you how easy it is to do this just in a moment. All right, so with the demo, if you're familiar with a community's demo, then you'll be familiar with Capricorn Coffee. And of course, no demo is complete without a cast of characters. And so today's cast, we have two main characters. One is Lauren Boyle. Hopefully you'll be familiar with her. She is a coffee aficionado. She loves Capricorn Coffee, and she is a Capricorn Coffee customer. And the other character in this cast is Eric Ware. He is an employee of Capricorn Coffee, and today he will be wearing the hat of the portal admin as well as the service agent. And what we're going to see in this demo today is the power of the hybrid mobile app. We're going to show you the channel menu in action, and then we're going to then transition to the service console to see how easy it is to interact between the customer and the service agent through this channel menu. And we're going to wrap things up by moving over to the forum, where you'll be able to see knowledge feed navigation in action. All right, now, what do you guys think? Should we get into it?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Sure.
Sweet. So the first thing we're going to do is have a look at the hybrid mobile app. Okay, and so what you're seeing right now, there are a couple of apps on my homepage. One is Capricorn. This is a hybrid mobile app that is powered by the mobile publisher. And what's so great about the mobile publisher is that really Salesforce does a lot of the heavy lifting for you. So you can package and publish your Lightning community without having to write a line of code, without having to get a mobile developer. And you publish that to the Google Play Store, the Apple App Store, and all you need to do really is give us a little image for that icon, as well as a description for what you want it to say when it's published in the App Store. Something that's new in Spring 20 is Face ID login. Oh, look at that. It's not working. I'm not sure if you can see this right now, but I'm trying to log in, Lies and Lauren Boyle is trying to log in. But right now, the camera is focused on my colleague here, Venkat. Venkat does not look like Lauren, and so this is not working. But hopefully, let's see if this works. Because I look a little bit more like Lauren. Let's see if this works again. Let's try this. All right, there we are. So that's biometric Face ID login in action. And now what we're looking at right now is your Lightning community that's been packaged up as a hybrid mobile app. Because this is a hybrid mobile app, you really get the best of both worlds. Any updates that you make to your Lightning community will be immediately reflected in real time in your mobile app. But because it's a hybrid mobile app, you also get many of the benefits when it comes to things such as accessing the camera roll on your phone, or perhaps like push notifications, as well as what we just saw a minute ago, the Face ID login. So today, Lauren is logged in because she wants to she doesn't want to look at her orders, nor does she want to troubleshoot. She actually has a broken coffee machine. And so what she wants to do is contact the service agent. Normally, she would just go through the Contact Us web to case form and create a case. Today, what she's going to do is use the channel menu. And so what you see here is the channel menu in action. Lauren has the option to engage the service agent on one of an array of many options. Today, she wants to engage using WhatsApp. So let's do that. And clicking on that takes me directly, or takes Lauren, directly to the app, and she can say, hello, we'll say, I don't know, or help is even better, bad coffee. Not very descriptive, but hopefully we'll see if this actually works. So what's happening right now is that that's opening up a communication channel, firstly with a chatbot. Okay, and so what you're seeing here is our chatbot for Capricorn called BrewBot. And BrewBot says, do you want some help with a few things? Today, Lauren just wants to speak to an agent, so she's going to type in 3 and say, transfer me directly to a service agent. Okay, so BrewBot does that, and now what we're going to do is transition over to the view of a service agent. And so now where we are now is the Service Console. We are logged in as Eric Ware, and you can see a few things. Firstly, in the Service Console, we have Community 360. This is super powerful. It allows the service agent to understand all of the activities of the customer they're about to serve. Here, Eric can see all of the questions that Lauren has asked recently, some of the articles that she's viewed recently, so that he doesn't mistakenly recommend that she view the same article that she just read, as well as some of her order history. What's relevant here is that he sees that there is an inbound initiation waiting, so he accepts that. And just like that, he opens up the communication channel, which is going to now be delivered through WhatsApp. So how can, I'm going to just type in, whoops, in the wrong field. How can I help? He responds to Lauren. And then if we switch back to Lauren, you can see that in real time updates on WhatsApp. So we're not going to finish the entire conversation today, but all I want to do is highlight just the power of this channel menu, and that it gives your customers so much more flexibility about how they engage your service agent, driving up customer satisfaction. What do you guys think about that one? Pretty cool?
Nice.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to switch gears, and we're going to now have a look at the community forum. Fast forward a couple of days. So Lauren, at this point, she just had a great customer service experience. She's really happy with Capricorn. And so what she's going to do now is go into the forum and post some feedback. In fact, not just any feedback. She saw a post that was made about a month ago asking about what her favorite types of beans are. Okay, and so she's going to go back into the forum and try and find that post. And then when she does that, she's also going to then respond to it. But here we are looking in groups. So she is a power user. So let's go to the brewer power users. She's scrolling down. What we're seeing right now is the full feed. These are all of the discussions that are available for this group. She can't see the post that she wants to comment on, so she has to view more, right? Notice this is kind of important. She clicks view more, and what that does is expands the list of feeds. Oh, actually, here we are. It's right here. It was like the first on the top of the list. So which of our beans do you like best? So she clicks in on that. and she can then respond in line. A few things I want to call out. In the last couple of weeks, there've been a lot of innovation in this space, in the feeds. Firstly, you can see that we can now have inline real-time translations. So, Lauren speaks Bengali, believe it or not, and so she wants to see what that looks like in Bengali, and she can do that. As you can see, that is powered by Google in real time. This is excellent. Another feature that was recently released is threaded discussions. So now it's so much easier for these long, complex comments to be made and managed carefully. The feature that I want to highlight right now, which is new in Spring 20, is the ability to retain your place when it comes to navigation. Okay, so normally what would have happened, at this point, Lauren, she's found a post, she's going to go back to the feed, and then what would have happened previously is that she would have been taken back to the top of the list of feeds. Okay, so she would have lost her place. But now, new in Spring 20, when Lauren goes back, the browser remembers where she left off, and so that she is dropped back exactly where she was in the list of feeds. And this is excellent because now your customers are going to it's just going to make it so much easier for your customers to find the content that they want in their forum. And so that is what we have for the self-service communities.
Awesome. So we'll just break for a couple of questions then, and then I think you have another section to cover.
Doses.
So we'll just dive in here. So love the brew bot. That's very clever.
Thank you.
And so a quick question about channels. So what other messaging channels do you plan to support in the future? I noticed you were showing WhatsApp. Very cool back and forth between the mobile and the desktop there. But what about other types of apps and channels?
That is a great question. Yeah, so it started with some of the more popular channels such as WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger. We also have WeChat coming up, as well as Apple Business Messenger for those of you out there that use Apple. But it's also important to note that you can add your own custom URL there as well as of Spring 20. And what that means is that you can really, it's very flexible. So another channel menu option could be redirecting to a different landing page, or even another channel messaging app entirely. So there's a lot of flexibility there.
Great. Now, is the channel menu available if you have Visualforce communities?
A great question, Eleanor. Yeah. So with what you just saw right now, the Lightning community, it's really simple and easy to set up. We have a out-of-the-box component that you can just drag and drop from the builder that Kuzum showed you just a moment ago. For a Visualforce community, you can also use this widget. All it takes is just taking a JavaScript snippet for the widget, dropping that on your website, and then you can configure that however you want, like directly in their website. It doesn't have to even be a Visualforce community. It can also be your own proprietary website.
Gotcha. Question from Christopher. Will the update pertaining to feed threading apply to existing communities automatically, or is this something that needs to be manually toggled or manually enabled?
That is an excellent question. I believe it's automatic, but I'll have to confirm that. And if you're not seeing that, Chris, then we'll make sure that our contact details are available after this, and so then we can enable that for you.
Okay, cool. Tommy was asking, are there any improvements on the granularity of audience management? For example, showing more personalized content based on who's using the community?
This is a great question, actually, and it sort of touches on some of the things that Kuzum was referring to.
Yeah. So the one main improvement is that you can now add more audiences, and I believe you can also access some more fields on the user record directly. But the granularity of audiences already covers user to contact to account to a lot of related objects to the account. So I'd be curious to know what specific granularity they were looking for, and we can definitely take some questions offline as well.
Okay, great. We can follow up in the community as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
So one question about the knowledge URL handling.
Yeah.
Can you configure the error message that would appear?
Yes. This is a great question, and it's one of the big benefits of this new feature, is that when that knowledge article link hits a dead end, then it's going to actually be redirected to a dedicated page in the community builder. Okay, and so you can, because it's a page in the community builder, you can configure that however you want. With one of or more of the 100 plus out-of-the-box components that are available in Community Builder. So it's very flexible, and please try it out.
All right. So shall we move on to channel management?
Let's do it.
Just a quick shout out to everybody who's watching. Please keep giving us your questions, and there's a good chance we'll have some time at the end. So please do keep them coming in the community or in Twitter. Use the hashtag Salesforce Live so we can find them for you, and hopefully we can bring most of them up on the air today. So thanks.
Great, Anna. Thank you. Okay, let's skip ahead. My clicker's died. Would you mind doing? Thank you, because maybe one more slide. And so I'm very excited to be talking about channel management PRM today. This is personally my favorite application and use case when it comes to the digital experience platform on communities. And part of the reason why is because it's such a powerful use case. It really taps into a lot of the platform that we have, this Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Marketing Cloud. Now, for those of you who aren't as familiar with the channel management use case, think of this as being your end user being the partner, your partner. And a partner in this instance might be a reseller, it might be a distributor, it might be a franchisee. Basically, anyone who is going to help sell and market your products and services to your end customers. And as you can imagine, because you want to target these types of partners, you want to enable them with all of the tools to help sell, whether that's going to be with deal registration, perhaps quoting, or even forming teams to co-sell on a deal. But because this is built on the DXP, the Digital Experience Platform, you can do so much more than simply extend your CRM. You can also, for example, recruit partners, help onboard new partners, or even enable them with all sorts of resources and collateral to help them sell. We've got a native integration with Marketing Cloud, so that way you can market directly to your partners, or even use your partners to market through to your end customer, by perhaps even sharing Marketing Cloud campaigns with your partners. We've had a lot of innovation recently in partner incentives, and what we'll see today is multi-tier channels in action. Two specific areas that we're going to cover in the demo today. One is report building and report running. Basically, the idea here is exposing reporting functionality to your end partner. So now your partner can have all of the same report building capabilities as is available to an internal user. And the second thing, this is a super powerful feature, is the external account hierarchy. This is now in beta, and what it does is it unlocks a world of sharing rules so that you no longer need to programmatically write stuff for sharing between accounts. You can actually do that using the external account hierarchy. Cool. You guys ready? No, false alarm. Okay, we're gonna have a couple more slides. We're gonna have a couple more slides, and then we'll go to the demo. Okay, so this concept of the external account hierarchy, it's kind of complicated. Okay, so I just want to spend just a couple of minutes unpicking what it's all about. So we have, in order to help us explain a lot of these concepts and demo these features for partner communities, partner portal, we use a fictitious solar panel manufacturer called Pacifica. Okay, so Pacifica sells solar panels. Perhaps more correctly, they actually manufacture solar panels, and then they use their partner network to help them sell it. Okay, so the first instance is if Pacifica wants to engage resellers to help sell, then Pacifica will share data with those resellers. It might be like sharing leads, sharing opportunities. And then those resellers will also share back data to Pacifica. Okay, so that's a very simple use case. There's not much sharing between accounts here. But if you go forward, just let's introduce, say, a different type of partner, like a distributor. Okay, so now your distributors and your resellers need to work together in order to close a deal, right? And in order to work together, they need to share data in a controlled way. And as of last year, we now have the ability to do that declaratively through a feature called account relationships. Okay, so if you want your, say, resellers leads to be shared with a distributor, all you have to do now is create a point-to-point relationship, and now that opens up all the sharing rules. Now, what's new in Spring 20 is the ability to use the account hierarchy to unlock sharing even further. So think of this use case. You might sell your products through a global franchise. Okay, so you might have your national franchise head. There might be state-level franchisees as well as, say, city-level franchisees, and you want to ensure that there's sharing up the hierarchy so that the national hierarchy, or the national franchise, has access to all of the state and city-level franchise data. Okay, Previously, if you wanted to do that, it'd be much more manual. Now what you can do is unlock a lot of those sharing rules automatically through the account hierarchy. Well, not automatically, but declaratively through the account hierarchy, and we'll show you how that's done in a minute. All right, actually, you know what? Let's get into the demo. So this is, once again, quick introduction of the cast of characters that we're going to be talking about today. The first person is James Preston. He does not work for Pacifica. He sells solar panels for Pacifica, but he's not employed by Pacifica. He's employed by a reseller. He is an external partner account. Okay. We also have Erica Ware, who is the channel manager. She does work for Pacifica, and her whole goal is to make her channel sell effectively and her channel partners more productive. Okay, so we're going to show you how easy it is for her to enable the external account hierarchy feature that we've just released in beta this release. And we're going to wrap things up by showing some of the editable reports that the partner can enable directly through the partner portal. Now, what do you guys think? We are ready this time? Okay, now let's do it. Let's get into the... Okay, so if we've switched screens, you can now be seeing the partner portal. We are logged in as Mr. James Preston, the reseller. And a quick overview of what you're actually seeing right now. This is the portal that we've exposed to the partner to help the partner sell. Okay, and as you'd imagine, the partner can access leads, deals, accounts, contacts, all through that are on Pacifica's CRM in a controlled, secure way. We've also exposed campaigns through Marketing Cloud. James can come here to request marketing funds, MDF. We have a whole workflow for that. Because this is on the Salesforce platform, you can expose resources, whether it's files, whether it's Quip and folders, all through this PRM. And some examples here might be like for onboarding, for sales collateral, all through a library that your partners can use to sell more effectively. We'll see analytics shortly. I won't go into too much detail right now because we've got a section that's going to be really exciting just in a moment, so stay tuned for that. And we have a number of apps on the App Exchange that you can use to enhance your partner experience, including like learning management systems and more. What we're going to do today, we're logged in as James Preston. And James, what he cares about right now is he wants to know which opportunities are going to be closing in the next 30 days. So what he does is he goes to his deals and he's going to look at the closing in the next month. It's strange because he doesn't see any opportunities, but he knows that the Chicago office of CTW has a big deal that's about to close. It's important to note here that James is at the headquarter level. Okay, so he's at the headquarter level. He knows that one of his we'll call it like child accounts or child that in Chicago has a deal, but he can't access it right now, and that's because we haven't yet enabled external account hierarchy. Okay, so we're going to fix this in just a minute. So what we're going to do now is then transition to Erica Ware, the channel manager at Pacifica, to show you how easy it is to enable external account hierarchy. So we are now logged in as Erica Ware. We are now in the channel management app, which is really the home of the channel manager. And from here, Erica can do a whole host of things, including tweaking her partner programs and tiers. She can look at her indirect channel and see all of the big deals that are coming through, the health of her pipeline and sales funnel, as well as any cases that have been escalated to by her partners. She also has access to this dynamic feed, which she can use to engage her partners, share collateral, and make sure that her partners are fully enabled to sell Pacifica's solar panels. So what she's going to do today is head over to the external account hierarchy. So what you see right now is the account hierarchy, but there are a few differences that you may not be aware of. The first is that now you can deactivate the hierarchy, and here we can actually enable parent access. Okay, so this is the trick right here. So I just want to recap where we're at. Okay, so James, just a moment ago, you saw that he is part of CTW HQ. He knows that there is a deal that's about to close in CTW Chicago. CTW Chicago is a child account to CTW HQ. Okay, so what we want to do now is enable the sharing rules, so that when we click Enable Parent Access, now CTWHQ should have access to all of CTW Chicago's data. So let's see if that actually worked. We're going to switch back to James Preston. We are now logged in as James Preston, and we're going to refresh the page. And hopefully, if this works, we're going to see a deal appear any moment right now. Fingers crossed. The suspense is really killing me right here. Boom! Thank you. Excellent. Okay, and so that's just a demonstration of how easy it is to unlock relatively complex sharing models directly through the external account hierarchy. Now, before we move on to Venkat with B2B commerce, I just have one more feature that I want to show you. Okay, and this is the ability for partners to run reports directly from the partner portal. To do this, let's go to the reports here. So today, we talked about James wanting to access the opportunities from other accounts. What he wants to do now is create a report to see, his different opportunities by stage. So previously, if he wanted to do this, he would typically reach out to his channel manager would write a custom report and then share it. The whole thing would be pretty onerous. Now, in Spring 20, James, the partner, can create an opportunity report directly through the partner portal. And what's been improved since the last release is that now it's all of the functionality that is available to an internal user to build a report is available to James. And that includes here, you might see, report run, more advanced joined reports if you want to have, say, filtered views or joining across different entities. What we're going to do here today, we're going to group this by stage, keeping it relatively simple, and then we're going to run this report and see what it looks like. We're going to add a chart. See that this is all of the power of Lightning reports at the fingertips of the partner. And so just to recap what we saw today, so a couple of things. Firstly, never before has it been easier for you to enable sharing across accounts through external account hierarchy. This is currently in beta, and we expect to GA this in the next release. And never before has it been easier for your partners to build and edit reports directly from the portal, driving up their productivity so they can help you sell more. Thank you, guys. And should we invite some questions from the audience?
Sure, yeah. Thanks for explaining that very thoroughly. That was really helpful. I know sometimes sharing can be a little brain twisting, so appreciate the extra explanation. So what if you have a really complex selling model and distribution and so forth, and you need a lot of tiers in that hierarchy? How many does that feature support?
Good question. So the external account hierarchy feature is built using the existing account hierarchy structure, and that has up to 5 tiers supported right now. But let us know if you think that 5 tiers is insufficient and you need to expand it, then please reach out, give us some feedback. Love to hear your use case around it.
Okay, and does external account hierarchy enable sharing on the child account itself, or is it just the data owned by users on the child account?
Okay, so can you just repeat that one more time? It was a complex question.
Does external account hierarchy enable sharing on the child account itself, or just the data owned by users of the child account?
Cool. All right, I think I get the question. Okay, so the idea here is that what you saw in the demo is that there was data, in this case it was the opportunity, that was owned by a user in the child account. And then, so that data that was owned by that user was then visible. We made that visible to the parent account. And now the question, I believe, here is it just the data owned by the child account users, or is it actually the child account itself? And the answer is that it actually includes the child account as well. Okay, so if you want to use account hierarchy to open up sharing, then the parent account will also then be able to see all of the details of the child accounts. For example, like all of the account details for the child account, as well as any contacts within that child account.
Gotcha, thanks. So you mentioned, so there's 2 ways to, I guess, give access. One is this account relationships, and then the other is the new account hierarchy, external sharing. So can you just explain what the account hierarchy does that the account relationship doesn't handle?
Okay, so this is a great question. Okay, so think of you really could use both in a very complementary way. So think of account hierarchy. Oh, we'll start with account relationships. Think of account relationships as unlocking point-to-point sharing. Okay, so you've got two different accounts and you want to unlock sharing between the two. Okay, and now account hierarchy opens up sharing, but not necessarily in a point-to-point. It follows the account structure. Okay, and
So that and below.
that and below. So think about it like, with Salesforce Platform, if you have roles, those roles basically you can unlock sharing through your role hierarchy. It's a very similar concept, but now it's through different accounts. Okay, and so that's how they're different. But we would expect that, especially if you have like a relatively complex partner network, that you'd actually use both of these tools to model your partner ecosystem in your CRM.
Well, that sounds super useful. So you mentioned it was a beta. So how can we sign up for the beta?
Well, please reach out to us. Reach us through the forums or ping us directly, and we'll be able to. Actually, you know what? Even better. It's probably better if you handle it through your customer support rep, and then they'll reach out to us, and that way we've got everything tracked, and so we can make sure that you're enabled as quickly as possible.
So if you have a success manager or maybe your account executive, depending on who you work with the most.
That would be great.
Right.
Yeah, and
okay.
we interact very closely with the sales team, so. Yeah, we'll make sure to be responsive to your requests as soon as possible.
All right,
Thank
you. So we're going to move on now to Venkat, and we're going to talk about B2B commerce. So
Sure.
over
Thanks,
to you.
Elna.
Sure.
Really cool stuff, Paul. Both PRM and I'm really glad that the hybrid mobile app didn't recognize my face. So, okay. So B2B commerce, really excited to share everything latest here, guys. So Salesforce B2B commerce, it's not just connected to the Salesforce CRM platform, but it's also built natively on the platform. Now, what does that mean for the B2B commerce customer? It can help you increase the sales by helping you reaching more customers. Also, with the B2C-like experience, it can empower the customer service agents to provide a best-in-class experience by giving a 360-degree view of the customers. So whether it's the Salesforce CRM entities and also the commerce-based entities like orders and payments and stuff. And with continuous innovation and being cloud native, we have seen B2B commerce implementations can be as quick as 8 weeks. So the platform can scale with you as you grow. So at B2B Commerce, we focus not just on the commerce aspects, but we are highly specific to what the B2B needs are for the customers. So as customers, you have the ability to support large and B2B sized orders, especially think of thousands or even tens of thousands of orders at one time or over a period of time. You have support for negotiated and contract level pricing, 2-click reordering, support for multiple payment types. And also, when you think of orders, right, think of it as from a customer point of view, you can split the order into multiple shipment groups, either by different ship-to locations or by different shipping methods and stuff like that. Or from an operations perspective, you can also split the orders automatically by rules that you can connect to catalog attributes based on, think of things like brand by seller, and use those rules to drive your shipments automatically to different ERPs based on your business requirements. So we've built some incredible product momentum with B2B commerce. I'm glad to share that with 20 million orders, the orders have pretty much doubled from what we had last year. And we have the number of storefronts almost tripled from last year. And what that means is the B2B commerce, the scale at which it can support your business needs. And what I also love about the product momentum, in addition to the features that I've shared, is all the wonderful stuff that Paul has shared and what Kusum has shared earlier with CMS and the Lightning components that you build. B2B commerce could leverage all that because we are built on the same platform. And it's also leveraging the same experience platform and the same experience builder, so you get the benefits of both worlds with B2B commerce. Just a quick call out here on, even though the B2B commerce is built on the natively on the platform, the release cycle comes slightly after the main core Salesforce Spring release. So when we talk about version 4.12, so every B2B commerce release has a specific version number associated to it, and the version 4.12 comes slightly after the core Spring release for Salesforce. So just to keep in mind. So what is coming in the new version, right? Everything that we talked about in the last release readiness as part of the previous release. So we talked about SEO enhancements, Google Analytics and tracking, the B2B landing lightning-based components. All of these are going to be more performant for the new scale, and also more aligned with everything that is latest with the security and trust updates with Salesforce. In addition to that, with 4.12, we have new enhancements with how you could manage your product list pages, how you could update your product index to be more seamless, and we'll talk more about that in the demo. Configuration cache management is something that is going to help you troubleshoot your storefront related issues and help you debug and solve problems faster. And B2B commerce connectors on the App Exchange is more evolved from last time, where we now have a full-fledged partner ecosystem program, also something that we'll talk about. PLP and search index updates. So one of the issues that we hear from users is, especially with B2B, when you're working with thousands and thousands of products, it can take really long time for your product index to be refreshed. Right? So far, until the previous release, all you needed to do is make sure you have the pricing that is mapped to the product and have the right product status. Your product is part of the product index, right? While that's great, when you are working with large sets of products, it can get really hard with the number of products and the time it takes for product refreshes to happen. So with the new changes in the new Spring release, you have the ability to organize and split your products to decide what you want or not want to be part of the product index. You also can choose to exclude certain products that you don't want to be seen in the search results, for example. One of the big use cases that we hear a lot from customers is you have the specially promoted products, there is a coupon discount and stuff like that, that you don't want those products to be seen in the regular search results for all users. So with this new changes, you can control all that. Configuration cache management. So this is one of those things which is a simple change, but is going to be very effective for especially the commerce store administrators. What this is going to allow you to do is you have the ability, at B2B Commerce, you probably are aware that there are hundreds of configurations that you can do across any area of commerce, from payments to products, index, list pages, everything, right? And that means the B2B Commerce could be very configurable and flexible for any sort of configurations that you want to do. But over a period of time, when you have a lot of configurations, it becomes harder to kind of switch and understand which particular configuration change could have caused some issue or not. And with this change, you can easily go through, identify, and use the new label fields to attach what exactly changed for each configurations, and then use that to activate or deactivate a particular set of configuration changes. The B2B Commerce App Exchange, we're really excited about this. We talked about this briefly in the last release readiness, and now we have a full-fledged program with a lot of ISV partners helping us serve different customer use cases across domains, across various functional areas that you could see. Customers use these for extending the base set of capabilities and then solve for specific customer needs across domains. Some examples here is you could see Avalara, which is pretty popular with tax integrations for sales and use tax calculations. We have Bloom Region Search that helps you with the search optimizations by connecting the Salesforce B2B instance, the base search capabilities, and extend even more. And also things like Zilliant, where you can connect the B2B commerce instance to Pricing Manager and helps you connect with more real-time pricing capabilities. So lots of stuff here, and the main goal is really that you can use any of this ecosystem partners to minimize your overall effort and minimize any one-off customizations that you need and leverage what you already have as pre-packaged individual apps that you can leverage here. Really excited for how this is going to evolve, and we're going to have more apps and more functionalities available. Right now, you have about 18 apps, and 12 of them are already live, and 6 of them that will be coming pretty soon. Moving quickly to the demo. So I'd love to go back to our demo context. So I'm going back to Capricorn Coffee, and we are looking at Lauren and another persona for Eric, who is the Commerce Store Administrator. So Lauren is not just the portal user that we looked at earlier. She's also a great, she still represents Central Perk Coffee and is a great B2B buyer. And Lauren logs in and looks at the storefront homepage for her. As you can see, she can see all the featured products that are available, and she can choose to buy any of this, or one of the very popular features for B2B commerce specifically, because there is a lot of repeat orders. So she can quickly see all the recent orders and then decide to order again, change quantities, and proceed with reordering capabilities. In this case, Lauren wants to see what are all the products that are available to her, and she sees that, oh, this is what we call as the product list pages, and she has a bunch of products. So she wants to look at and explore all the different coffee products that are available for her. She sees the Bella Chrome coffee machine. Looks like a great one because she can make 3 gourmet coffees at once, so looks great, and she can proceed to purchase about it. But now, switching back to the admin, which is Eric Ware here, our administrator extraordinary, he is looking at the same Bella Chrome coffee machine, but now that it's become so popular, Capricorn is actually considering making it a promotional product that with promotional pricing and entitled to a certain set of customers. So he can quickly do that by going to the products, accessing Bella Chrome coffee machine, and you can see that you can quickly choose to exclude Bella Chrome because it's very specific to some set of customers that he wants to provide entitlements for, and exclude that from the main search index. So he does that, can go back to the admin, and you can see in the indexing section that you can refresh the product index, which would be much faster than what it was before, and you see that you can also choose the number of parallel Apex batch jobs that you can do to also have another way to optimize your product index performance even further, right? So while the product index is being refreshed, Eric also can go to the configuration settings. And as you can see, there are hundreds of configurations across a lot of areas. And then in this case, it's specifically focused on the product list pages. So he can see that, he can see all the configurations that are very specific to the product list page. And he wants to change some layout options here, and he just wants to put the grid view or just change a particular configuration, and that configuration is applied. This is no different, but what's cool now is now Eric can go back to the configuration cache management, can actually specify a name to the change, because he just changed the layout changes to, and he can apply. The cool thing about this is now you can see that for all the hundreds of changes and the configurations that Eric does on a day-to-day basis as he manages his commerce storefront, he can decide to choose, activate, deactivate, and he exactly knows what each is meant for, and it will directly help him troubleshoot what you need. So quickly going back with the product refreshed, Lauren logs back in again when she comes back next time. She can see that the Bella Chrome coffee machine is no longer available because Eric has moved it onto a more promotional category kind of product. How's that?
Great.
Awesome.
Nice.
So that's pretty much the demo from the B2B commerce guys.
All right, thank you. That was great. So Tom wanted to know how you could possibly integrate B2B commerce with CPQ.
Great question. So today, CPQ also comes with its own capabilities, and we do have integrations that are available from our partners. There is no out-of-the-box integration directly available, but there are several options similar to the lines of what we have in the ecosystem partners, but you can leverage the individual customizations to extend and connect them to, and we do have some partners who took advantage of that, but it would be not something that would be available out of the box.
Gotcha. So a couple of more questions, and then we have a few more questions for pretty much everybody, and we're going to go a couple minutes extra to try to get through as many as we can. So about B2B commerce, what different product types does it support?
Great. So this is one of the pretty common questions that we get asked all the time. B2B commerce supports a wide variety of products. Some things that you might have seen in what Lauren is looking at in the B2B commerce storefront. We support things like bundles, kits, dynamic kits, and a ton of suite of options of around what different product types that you need for B2B. And what this means is with dynamic kits, for example, the buyers can choose, rather than you creating an individual SKU up front, buyers, as they are choosing to buy their storefronts, they can configure and then choose their own options that they want to be part of that bundle. And then you have different ways of configuring how you want the pricing to be for those.
Right. And Dustin wants to know, can product indexes be specific to customers for their specific product offerings if different customers have different products available to them?
I will need to check back on that with the core team, and I will get back and follow up with that offline.
I can see where that question is coming from, though. That
Yeah.
allows you to really personalize
Definitely.
it, right?
So
Just to clarify this, so it was customers or buyers? So in
Right.
terms of like, so if it was buyers, that would be handled through entitlements, and then you can further customize that through the search features that Venkat just demoed. But yeah, less clear if we're talking about customers, then maybe we need to maybe follow up offline on that one.
Gotcha. Okay. So if you want more insights on the product index, can you run updates or reports to see updates on the index?
Definitely. So you can definitely run reports on the product index, and we also have ability, because every time a product's bad jobs run, we update the value for what's the status for each of the product at the end of each product index. All of that can be easily captured in a report. In fact, that's a pretty good way to troubleshoot any problems with if you're not able to find a product in your search experience. One way to troubleshoot that quickly is to run a report.
All right, I'm going to shift gears a little. I have a few questions I want to get through before we wrap up. And if we don't get to your question, we'll definitely follow up with you in a few days. Our team will be looking at the feed, both Twitter and Release Readiness community. So Lynette was wondering about the bot in the demo of channel choices. An Einstein bot that launched, is that with a snap-in on Community Cloud?
So this particular bot, so there's a few different bots. This one was not enabled through Einstein. This particular area is a huge area of innovation for Service Cloud and for Community Cloud. So, obviously, please stay in tune there. The way that this was enabled through a snap-in. I would have to confirm actually with the person the PM who actually built this demo. So unfortunately, I don't have an answer for you, Lynette, but I will follow up with you.
We'll get back. All right, it's a good question though. We did talk a lot about snap-ins in Winter 20 and previous sessions. So Trolls was wondering, does WhatsApp integration work in the partner portal?
That's a great question. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And the way of thinking about this is that the channel menu widget is available in Lightning Communities, whether it's a partner portal, whether it's a customer portal. So that, and as we mentioned before, you can also use it through a JavaScript snippet in whatever website you want.
Okay, and regarding the external account hierarchy, lots of interest in that.
That's awesome. That's a great feature.
I have a feeling you're going to get a lot of beta requests. Christopher says, it's my understanding that external account hierarchy is it my understanding that it will allow our customers on a customer community to view cases across their account hierarchy?
Okay, so let me try and understand that. So, Christopher, good question. And so you've got a customer community.
and they have an account for
Yeah.
themselves, right?
Okay.
And they have a hierarchy, and maybe you want some users to be able to see all the cases across the entire account hierarchy,
Oh, okay.
right?
Okay, so maybe I'm just going to repeat that and let me know. Oh, I guess you can't really, but this is my understanding. So you have a customer community. These customers belong to different accounts, and within those different accounts, there is also a hierarchy. So my understanding is that that should be supported. I don't think it's limited to only partner accounts, but I can follow up on that.
Yeah, he says this has been a pain point for him for quite some time, and
That's a great use case.
Yeah.
like managers need to be able to see cases from all contacts in their account as well as from the child accounts,
that's
right?
exactly
Because
the use
they're
case. Yeah,
overseeing
exactly.
the entire.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, and they haven't been able to do that thus far.
Yeah.
So this could be a great solution for
Yeah.
that.
So let me just confirm that is available through customer accounts as well. Obviously, with partner accounts, it's no problem. But let me just confirm that with customer accounts as well.
Great. So Melissa wanted to know, is there any way to automate the enabling of the external account hierarchy, or do they each have to be enabled one by one?
Oh, okay. So I believe that there was actually a few different options in the dropdown, including enable hierarchy, and so it would actually be an active action to disable it once you've enabled it for the entire sharing to. Once you've enabled sharing across the hierarchy, then you would then have to go through and actually disable it. So for the purposes of the demo that we just saw, I actually went in and actually disabled it ahead of time. So that's why it looked the way it did.
I see. Okay, thank you. Good to know. It's a good nuance there. Well, that about wraps it up for us this week. Thank you so much for joining us for a week of Spring 20. If you missed any of these sessions, the recordings are all going to be available very soon, if some of them may already be available. And you can watch back anytime, share with others. And as I said, if we didn't get to your question, we're definitely going to continue the conversation, follow up with you within the next few days. And we'll see you back here in a few months for Summer 20. Thanks, everybody.